Freedom of speech is under attack on college campuses all across our country, specifically the silencing of conservative voices. And our next guest is all too familiar with this movement. Back in 2017, students at Claremont McKenna College tried to shut down Heather Mac Donald's speech, and now she is out with a new book calling out the culture on college campuses. Here with more is Manhattan Institute fellow and author of this new book, The Diversity Delusion: How Race and Gender Pandering Corrupt the University and Undermine Our Culture. Heather Mac Donald. Heather, thanks for being with us again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Ainsley.
You're welcome. Why did you write this book?
I wrote it out of sorrow and rage. Sorrow at the destruction of our culture, our civilization, and rage at the know-nothingism that has taken over college campuses.
You've just had enough. You said that colleges are hatred machines. What do you mean by that?
From the moment a student steps on campus, a vast diversity bureaucracy tries to indoctrinate him with the idea that to read Shakespeare or Kant or Plato is to be the victim of life-threatening racism, to hate the monuments of Western civilization, and to hate their alleged oppressors. They're being taught to see sexism where none exists. As a female, you're taught to feel like you're the victim of rape culture. As a minority, you're taught to feel like you're the victim of ubiquitous systemic racism. None of this is true, but it's carrying into the world at large, Ainsley. If a politician is denounced as a white supremacist for saying we can't monkey around with our economic success, and that is viewed as a legitimate accusation, when people are fired for challenging the feminist ideology, as happened at Google, the identity politics that is poisoning the campus is spreading very quickly into the world at large.
What is the danger in saying this about the classics? You have some examples, right, about Shakespeare and how students think that this is ruining their lives if they have to read Shakespeare?
Oh, yeah. Students at Yale decimated one of the primary components of the English major, the great English poets, which I had the fortune to read. We read Chaucer, Spencer, Milton, Wordsworth. Nobody thought to complain that these were all white males. They were simply the greatest poets around. Instead, recently, the Yale students claimed, as students of color, this puts us at risk of our lives. Same thing happened at Columbia. There's a Facebook thread exploded in rage against having to read what they saw were white, patriarchal, racist texts. Again, the foundations of our civilization. Harvard created a course initially created for marginalized voices on the idea that that is a legitimate reason. If somebody is not in the canon because he's been overlooked, fine. But race and gender are not relevant criteria. I can learn about the female experience by reading Shakespeare, by reading Trollope. You don't have to read on a color-coded basis, and yet students are being taught that if an author doesn't meet his particular gonads and melanin, he's a literal threat to his life.
There are a lot of people that disagree with you, but there are plenty more that do agree with you. What's your advice to those that are watching that agree with you as parents? What do you do?
Well, start out young. Read to your child. Expose them to the great children's classics, Wind in the Willows, Winnie the Pooh, so they develop an appreciation for great language. Continue to monitor what they read. When they go to school, try and steer them towards traditional history courses, if any remains, because most history now is taught from the perspective of victimology, that the American founding was just one exercise in hatred. Steer them certainly away from gender studies, and teach them to love the past. Education is a process of transmission of inheritance and should be done with joy and gratitude.
Heather, congratulations on the book. Thank you so much. If you want to pick it up, it's Heather Mac Donald, The Diversity Delusion.